Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
What does a healthy, balanced lifestyle consist of? How should you eat? What exercise should you be doing? How many hours of sleep do we really need? Does too much water flush away all your vitamins? Should it be high carb, low fat, or high fat, low carb? The more research you do, the more confusing it gets, because there is so much information out there, and there are so many conflicting opinions. So how are we supposed to know? Stick around to explore the different approaches to health with us, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and let's try to figure out together what the heck being healthy really means. I am your host, Hazel Priscilla, and this is your weekly dose of Feed Me Honesty. Hello and welcome back to Feed Me Honesty. It is another beautiful day here in Cape Town, and to make this day even more beautiful, we have the absolutely gorgeous Alice Orion on the line to share a bit of her heart with us. Alice is one of those people who just seem to be able to do everything, and do it well. She might joke that math is not her strongest point, but we know that she's only saying that to make the rest of us feel a bit better about ourselves. Let me explain. Alice is a model and bikini athlete partnered with Carlos Friseo Photography, Body Tech SA, Body Innovation, Tammy Taylor Nails, and makeup artist Carmen Kraus. She is also an extremely talented musician. Go check her out on YouTube. And to prove that she is so much more than just a pretty face, Alice is also currently studying towards a bachelor's degree in not what, but political science. Last year, she decided to put on yet another hat when she competed in her first bodybuilding competition, Summer Super Bodies, at the Hartfeld Arena in Pretoria, and walked away with 2 medals, placing 3rd and 4th in respective categories. Alice, a very warm Feed Me Honesty welcome to you, and thank you so much for setting some time aside to talk to us today.
Hello everybody, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I can't wait to talk to you guys and say a little bit more about myself so that you can get to know me a little bit better. I feel very thankful that I have this opportunity today, and yeah, I'm just really excited.
I think the best place to start is for you to tell us where and when your fitness journey started and what inspired it.
So my fitness journey started actually, I would say last year, September. I found out last year, actually no, it was end of 2018, so yeah, end of 2018 I got rushed to hospital. They actually thought I was having like a heart attack or something, and I ended up being in hospital for 2 weeks. They didn't know what was going on. They knew it was a problem with my heart and stuff like that, and the surgeon had no idea what was going on, so they put a heart monitor in. Long story short, I eventually ended up going to a specialist who realized I had something called POTS, which is an autoimmune disease, and basically it affects my blood pressure and that kind of thing, and it makes me feel really sick. So I ended up picking up like 10 kgs from my original weight, and I'd always been quite fit and active, so it was really, really depressing for me to pick up all that weight, and I felt really, really bad about myself. So I decided to start getting back into my training slowly, and even though doctors said I couldn't really train to my full capacity, again, I decided, you know what, I'll show you, kind of a thing. I had that kind of mindset. I was like, I'm not happy with how I am right now, and I need to, you know, find a way to live with my disease and not let it control my life. So I approached my uncle, who is the vice president of the IBFF, and I asked him if he could possibly take me under his wing and start coaching me so I could start doing bodybuilding. And everyone thought I was crazy because, you know, you've got health issues, you can't do this. Bodybuilding's already a tough thing. You work out a lot, you train twice a day, your diet is very restrictive, but I don't know, I fell in love with it, and it changed me as a person, and it made me a lot stronger. In fact, if anything, my POTS symptoms started getting better the more I was training, and yeah, I just fell in love with the process, and yeah, so that's basically where it started. And now I'm a sponsored athlete, and I am on to my next prep, and yeah, I'm super excited for my journey.
First of all, congratulations, Alice, on not letting it take control of your life. I totally agree with that. I know about early in my 20s, I was also diagnosed with epilepsy, and it totally took control over my life until I decided that I was going to take back control. And I have to say that going to the gym and working out really also made the big change for me. Like you said, it only makes you stronger, not only physically, but mentally as well. Was there any hesitation or fear about competing, or was it mostly an exciting experience for you?
So obviously when I decided to get into the bodybuilding industry, my uncle said a really good introductory competition would be Summer Bodies, because it is like the biggest show of the IFBB calendar, in the sense that there are so many entrants and stuff like that. And he just said it would be a great competition for me to start and get the feel for the whole industry. So I only had 12 weeks prep to go from literally 0 to 100. By then, luckily, I'd already lost 10 kgs on my own by, doing my own diet and training program. I was working really hard. So I was already kind of used to being in gym, and I started at, I think it was 60 kgs. So I was kind of nervous because I was like, I only have 12 weeks to literally go from an average body to something that, I'm proud of, standing on a stage. And my coach, he was incredible. He got me to 53 kgs on stage, and placing in my first comp in 2 different categories, which is unheard of. So I think, yes, I was really apprehensive about the time limit I had. I wasn't afraid of stepping on stage. I mean, I've been on stage my whole life, so it wasn't really a fear of the actual competition, but rather the time frame I had to prepare for the competition. So yeah.
Once again, congratulations, Alice. You're such an inspiration to so many people. Tell us, how long before a show should you ideally start with prep?
So ideally, you never really go off prep. There's just different areas of prep. So whether you're off season or on season, you're still technically on an eating plan. You can't just fall off the rails. So you're very intentional with what you're putting into your body. Once you become a bodybuilder, it's all about the macros. So if you're on off season, you're going to want to build muscle, and you're obviously going to pick up weight and pick up size, but it's not unintentional weight. It's weight that makes you stronger, that you can pick up heavier weights, so that when you lean out, the muscle is bigger and more defined. So I typically would start with competition prep. I would say from 16 weeks out you can start. Obviously not too hectic. Usually the required amount is about 12 weeks to start with the leaning out process. But like I said, before that, it's all about bulking up and getting as much lean muscle weight as possible on your body, so that when you start the 12-week process of leaning out, you already have a good basis for, the muscle and that to start showing. So yeah, about 12 weeks.
That makes a lot of sense, and I have to say, as an Instagram follower, it was so great to see you go through the whole prep journey. You shared a lot of it on your page because, like you said, it's basically just your life now, even if you're not just 12 weeks out from a show. We loved seeing your progress and watching you take part in your first competition, and we look forward to continuing to follow you on your journey that we know will only lead to great places. So we've talked a bit about when prep starts now, but what does prep involve both training and nutrition-wise? And what makes it different from times when you are not on prep for a show?
So prep, where to even begin it? So usually my day would typically start at 4:30 on a Monday morning, or any other day of the week, but I'm explaining my week. So 4:30 I'd wake up, I would take my fat burner, I would go to gym, and only drink BCAAs while gymming. I would do cardio in the morning. So depending on when in prep I am, from 12 weeks it's probably like 15 to 20 minutes of cardio, but then leading up to closer to the comp, it's gonna go to about an hour of cardio in the morning. Then when I get home, I will have my first meal of the day, which is probably oats and egg whites. Then I will have a snack at 9, I will eat again at 12, I will eat again at 3:30, and then I'll eat again at 6:30. So yeah, I eat often in the day, small meals, very controlled macros, and yeah, so that's about my nutrition side of it. Somewhere between that, I will get my weight training session in. I wouldn't say there's a set time to that because of my varsity and stuff like that. I kind of have to find a place to fit my fitness in, because it's usually quite long sessions. I'll spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours in gym just for my weight part of the routine. So I will probably get to gym, let's say around 5 o'clock, leave around 7, and then eat my last meal. So yeah, it's quite busy, but I make it work. Seeing as our gym and my prep isn't really work for me. To me, I find it like my release and my therapy, so it's something I look forward to, so I make sure I always have time for it in the day. And then when it comes to actually prepping my prep food, I usually do it on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, just so that everything's fresh for the week. I'm one of those people that I literally don't have time to cook every night, so I will have a whole week or at least 5 days worth of meals prepped and ready for a week by Sunday night, because I do not have time to cook every night, and I do believe that if you don't prepare for something, you will fail at it. So I have all my meals ready and waiting for me in the fridge that I literally just pop it into the microwave, and that is that done. So I hope that answers the question.
That definitely answers the question. Thank you so much for giving us a little peek into your day-to-day life. Now I would like to know, after doing your first competition, what would you say the overall experience was like for you? Was it what you imagined it would be, or was it harder, or more fun, or more nerve-wracking? And what can you tell us about what happens behind the scenes at competitions that people might not know about?
Okay, I really like this question. So I loved my first competition. I feel like it went really well. Obviously, it did help that I did place and I did well in my first competition. I think it would have been very different if I, on the day, didn't feel like I was ready for the comp. I think it would have been a lot more nerve-wracking. But when I woke up that morning and I saw my abs, I was like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to step on that stage. And all jokes aside, you literally are so hungry and tired and dehydrated that you just kind of, this sounds terrible, but you kind of just want to step on stage and enjoy the experience so that you can get off stage and eat and drink your water. You don't even care if it's junk food. You just want food and you just want water. So the whole day went by really quickly for me. I woke up super early to get my hair and makeup done. The spray tan is a mission. People don't know this, but it is super sticky. You are lying on the floor backstage with pillows. You're surrounded by stinky, other sweaty, gross people who look fabulous. You try and look fabulous, but you feel horrible, because obviously with the spray tans, they're really dark. So if you mess it up at all, you feel terrible, because then you have to go touch it up and then you're sticky all day. Obviously you're hungry, you're tired. A lot of the day is spent waiting. You just lie on the floor waiting for your category. You try and nap, but obviously it's super loud because everyone's talking, everyone's excited. But yes, I think the worst part of the experience is the fact that you can't wear perfume or deodorant or anything, so you just smell like spray tan all day and you feel super uncomfortable in your own body because you're just sticky and gross. But you look fabulous, so that's a bonus. So yes, I was really lucky that I was surrounded by amazing people. My teammates and my coach and my parents and my friends were there, and they all really supported me. So the whole day really, it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed it. I think people don't understand why people prep and why they do bodybuilding, because they see how hard we work and what a struggle it is. And although you have a fantastic body, even during prep, I ask myself a million times over, why am I doing this? It's not worth it. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I'm hungry. But the moment you step on that stage, it may not be like that for everyone, but obviously being a performer, stage is really where I feel I belong. So as soon as I stepped on that stage, that feeling of that energy, that I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like just knowing you found your purpose and walking onto that stage and fulfilling that purpose, being in a crowd of people and feeling like you stick out, that it's a feeling I can't explain clearly because I'm really bad at it. But that for me was a highlight of my day. I didn't care how hungry, how tired, how sticky I was. That for me was just, it was incredible. So it's the reason I'm doing more competitions, and the reason I spend so much of my time on stage, because it really is where I feel I belong.
You smell terrible, but you look fabulous. But honestly, you did look fabulous, and I can't wait to share one of your competition photos with our listeners. Just a warning, you might want to sit down for that one. Alice, how many rest days do you allow yourself after a competition, or do you almost immediately get back on track after, let's say, one cheat meal and one day off?
Ooh, is my coach going to be listening to this? I was supposed to have 2 days off the weekend, and then start again that Monday. It turned into a December off and starting in January. So, you know, we all have plans and goals and stuff like that we always want to stick to, but I think it's impossible, especially over the end of the year, to be really strict on yourself. Obviously, I did not pig out and eat whatever I wanted whenever I wanted, but I still stuck to like a weekly cheat meal with some added cheats now and again in between. So obviously I did pick up weight, obviously not too much because my coach would have killed me and I would not be having this interview. So yeah, typically I would say you'd get about 2-3 days to kind of do what you want, eat what you want, because it kind of satisfies that, you know, indulgence. It just like it makes you not want to touch junk food for a while afterwards. I know I got very sick after my cheat meals. I threw up and stuff like that after having my first cheat meal, because your body is really not used to that rich food, especially after peak week when you're eating so restrictively. So I would say, yeah, about 2-3 days to kind of eat what you want, feel sick, and then want to get back on track and be motivated. But obviously when you have a competition, let's say just before a holiday, it is kind of hard to, you know, stay in your routine over the festive season and stuff like that. So in that aspect, I took a month off and got back to it in Jan. But I think for the rest of the comps going forward, I will have 3 days to eat whatever I want and then immediately go back onto my prep for bulking, or whether I have another competition immediately afterwards, back onto a more serious prep. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
We're glad you allowed yourself some time off during the festive season, and I really hope that everyone at home did too, because it's sometimes important to take that step back and recharge so that you can be ready to tackle life head on again. Now, I'm sure it can be difficult not to compare yourself to other women when you are competing. How did you protect yourself from constant comparison, and what do you do to cultivate self-love and confidence?
As someone who is about women empowerment and someone who truly believes that, you know, every woman is different and every woman is amazing and is able to offer something completely different to what I'm able to offer, I'm still human, and obviously I compare myself to other people in the fitness industry, especially because I'm like a baby in the fitness industry. All these other girls who have achieved amazing things, you know, women that are sponsored athletes that, you know, have been in the industry for years, people I've looked up to before I even got into the fitness industry. Being around them and surrounded by them all of a sudden, of course, is daunting. But I'm very blessed in the fact that my parents raised me to believe that, you know, I'm special and I bring something different to what anyone else can bring. So I cultivated my self-love with realizing, you know what, I'm doing this with a disease. I'm doing this, you know, for the first time. Stop comparing yourself to people who've done this for years, people who have no other health issues, you know, that are just, you know, they're more experienced. So I took it for what it was, and I'm actually super blessed that the people that, you know, were around me, and so many of the women that are in the industry already, they were so supportive of me, and they weren't there wasn't really that much bitchiness. Obviously I've encountered some bitchiness, but it wasn't hectic and it wasn't over the top like I thought it would be. It's an industry where all of us are stepping on stage asking for other people to judge our bodies. So we kind of are more lenient with one another, or kind of about one another, because we're all going through the same thing. We're all going to step on that stage and be judged. So behind stage doors, if I can say it like that, we were all very supportive and loving of one another, and we admired one another because we know how hard we each had to work to get to that point of stepping on stage. So, you know, you kind of have to realize each one of you bring your own strength and your own package on that day, and it's different to the girl next to you, and maybe someone places above you, maybe someone places below you. At the end of the day, it's also a sport about, you know, it's a bit of an objective sport, in the sense that every girl has to get compared to a set standard, yet on the day it's a bit subjective, because one person may like some girl's body more than another one, even though she's not a textbook perfect body, if that makes sense. So it's really difficult, but if you know you worked super hard and you brought your best package on that day, whether someone else is mean about you or whether you don't place as well, you know, you still have your self-love and you still know how hard you worked to get there in the first place.
It reminds me of that quote that says, don't compare your chapter 11 to someone else's chapter 30. And it's really so good to hear that women out there are supporting each other more than anything else. I can imagine that especially in this industry, there's a lot of mutual respect because, like you said, you all understand the work that goes into getting yourself ready to step on stage. What would your advice be to men or women who also want to compete?
My biggest advice would be do your research. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Don't just compete for the sake of competing and for the sake of, you know, doing it because it's the trend at the moment, like everyone's in fitness. So don't just do it because of that. Do it because it's something you genuinely are passionate about, because motivation is going to run out, and it's going to run out way quicker than you thought it was going to. No, it is expensive unless you are a sponsored athlete, and even then it is super expensive to compete. From diet to supplements to stage wear, it is expensive. And get a good coach. The coach is probably the most important, more than your supplements, more than your, you know, what your training program is. If you don't have a good coach, you are gonna fall off track. I'm sorry. You may have, you know, studied fitness and stuff like that, but it's always better to have an outsider looking in and watching the experience, because they can also see how you're taking it emotionally. They can see how your body's taking it, how things are changing for you. If you have a good coach, you'll be fine. They will know what to do with you, and they'll be able to help you both physically and mentally. So get a good coach.
That is excellent advice. Thank you, Alice. Now, how do you choose which competitions you want to take part in and what brands you want to be associated with?
So basically, my coach and I sit and we discuss what competitions we think are going to be best for me, what my body type will suit, and we kind of went from there. When it comes to being associated with brands, I've been very blessed that a lot of the brands that I work with actually approached me. So when they approached me, I sat down with them, we went through business agreements, and we discussed what each of us would bring to the party, and yeah, it kind of went from there. So I was very blessed to be approached by really big companies who, you know, had the same business vision that I did and wanted to see me succeed, not only in my fitness, but my music aspect and my general well-being. So I'm very blessed with the companies I have surrounding me. It's a very strong group of people, and I genuinely see them as my family. So yes, I was very blessed there.
And then last but not least, how do you balance studies, shows, competing, and your social life? And what do you do to recharge?
I don't really have the answer to this question because I don't know how I do it. I try to give 100% to obviously everything I put my mind to, but some days, you know, I'm super tired and I kind of lose my recharge, if that makes sense, with social life. So I put my varsity, my gym, and, you know, my studies and my shows, my music, everything, I try and put it before my social life, but obviously you can't do that always with everything. So sometimes I will have to cancel a gig, or I will have to shorten my gym session, or, you know, whatever. So it is kind of hard to balance everything, but I try my best to make it all work, and I hope I'm doing decently at it. Yeah.
Alice, once again, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It was such an honor to have you on the show. Before you go, please tell our listeners under what handles they can find you on social media platforms.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was such an honor to be able to speak to you about everything. I hope everyone feels like they know me a little bit better. They're more than welcome to DM me on Instagram at Alice_Orion, or to Facebook Messenger me, also Alice Orion. I really enjoy being able to let people in and, you know, let them know a little bit more about me. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show and for giving me this opportunity. And yeah, have a lovely day.
Do not forget you can now also find Feed Me Honesty on Instagram, so please go give our page a follow and join in on the conversation. Have a balanced week and remember to be kind to yourself so that you can be kind to others too. Feed Me Honesty is a South African lifestyle podcast hosted by Hazel Priscilla and produced with the generous assistance of Blended Podcasts, brought to you by Blended Audio.